Welcome to NeverTheLess podcast with Bidemi Mark-Mordi, a show dedicated to organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. Today, you would learn how to discover your essence and live more powerfully.
Welcome to the NeverTheLess show, a show for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. And this is our fourth and final episode in our success series. I've had an amazing time, and I'm sure that you've also had an amazing time too. Thank you for your comments, and we also want to see more of them. And on this episode, we are going to be talking about stewarding success. We've talked about the meaning of success. We've talked about the definitions of success. We've talked about the consequences of success. But now we're going to be talking about stewarding success. My name is John Namaka, and I have with me our very fantastic speaker, Pastor Bidemi.
Hi, John.
Hi.
It's been a beautiful ride.
Fantastic ride.
I think that this has been one of the most exciting episodes I've done, because honestly, I didn't realize that we had not done any series on success. So I'm grateful to God that we get to do this. So yes, this final episode, we want to look at managing success. And let me tell you the mindset behind that. The mindset behind this is we're thinking to ourselves that we have been able to give you a roadmap to success.
Yes.
So because you have redefined success for yourself, you've done the things that create true meaning for success, and you have looked at the consequences and you've made your adjustments, you are succeeding.
Yes.
So now that you're succeeding, what do you need to do to make sure that you steward success properly? I prefer the expression steward than managing. I like the expression steward because it paints for me the picture that somebody gave me this success and I would be accountable to that person. Yes. So whatever success you have, the first way to steward success is the subject matter of ownership. To recognize that a steward is not the owner. We know you've done great things and we are rooting for you and we're hoping to hear more success stories from your life. But you did not do this by yourself. If God didn't give it to you, you would not be here.
Been able to.
So you are a steward. That's the first thing I want you to take away from this episode. The second thing is that success tends to get us into the place where we become really excited, especially when success seems to be like an occasion. Say, for instance, you've been trying to build an app that would do something. I know you're in fintech, that's why I'm talking about that. Yes. And then, you've been trying to do this thing, you want to launch something. And then finally, you've done some beta versions, nothing has happened, and finally it clicked. And, in one day, 10,000 downloads.
Wow.
You have arrived. By every stretch of imagination, you would literally be on a high. You don't need to drink, you don't need to smoke, you would feel intoxicated. Cloud nine, yes, in that point. And that's why the second thing I want to say to you when it comes to stewarding success is manage or moderate how you express your joy or happiness after the event of the success.
Moments of success.
After moments of success, moderate how you do it. And let me tell you the rationale behind this. The rationale behind this is it's been proven that most people make the most deadly mistakes of their lives after a major success.
Why is that?
Because people become unconsciously negligent. When you were trying to build the app and market it and get buy-in and all of that, there was a tension and an adrenaline that was driving you.
Yes.
At the point of success, when you succeed, it crashes. It's like being on a sugar high, and now you have crashed. You become tired. You become a bit not as sharp as you used to be. Yes. I call it being unconsciously negligent. You are not negligent because you want to be. You are negligent because you are unconscious, either in the delirium of joy or in the deflation of finally it happened.
Finally, we've achieved it.
That makes us
unconsciously negligent.
Yes. And when that happens, it means that you leave your doors open and anything can walk through. Every time we do a major event in church or in ministry, or even when we do things, other projects, I always tell my team, the moment we finish, let's close ranks. You see, when those things happen and you have finished, what most people do is everybody in their joy gets in their cars and they begin to go. We have just made ourselves pray for the enemy.
Exactly.
That same principle applies here. So when you find yourself at that place where you know I hit something successful,
a major milestone,
you need to be quiet. People, all of a sudden the journalists are after you. They want to conduct interviews on you. And that's a good thing because it continues to enhance the brand and showcase the brand.
Yes.
But never do anything on the fly. Do not conduct interviews on the fly.
Yeah.
And if you must conduct interviews on the fly, I'll tell you what to do.
Okay.
But if you must conduct interviews, tell them, send me the questions. Let yourself rest. Answer the questions. Even your answers, let them marinate, percolate in your system before you release it. A few weeks ago, someone sent me, said, "Oh, would like to feature you in our newspaper." And I said, "Oh, sure, that's nice. Thank you for the consideration. Send me your questions." And she sent the questions. I took a look at the questions, and my first thing is, this person did not make the effort to know me because these questions are too surfacey. That was the expression I used. I took like 2 weeks without responding. Then I came back and I said, but it is an opportunity. I'd like to respond. So I sat down and for each question, I'd recraft the question so that I can answer in some level of depth. So I did all of that. Then when I finished, I wasn't still satisfied. I sent it to someone. And I said, these are the person's questions. This is what I have done. I think they're shallow. Their questions were too surfacey, but I've done this. What do you think? And she said, I agree with you. The questions were surfacey, but you have done this, and this is a good way to go. But because she's a professional in that field, before you send them, make sure you have a conversation. Because these people probably have a history of distorting what you have said by a headline. So give them a headline and insist that they stick with it.
This is huge.
So I said, okay. So I waited a few more days and then I placed the call. I've done this, but I have this condition. And they refused to bite. So I walked away from it.
Simple.
If I had allowed the excitement, because in that week I've had a couple of features. If I say, there's another feature, and I jump on it and I do not do this, everything that those other 3 or 4 features have done will be rubbished by this one. So you cannot afford to be unconsciously negligent. One of the greatest tests of whether people know you in success is the questions they ask you, is the things they say to you or they say about you. One of the things that I can sit here and say to you is that person didn't know me
at all.
They had an idea of that, she knows how to do X, Y, Z, but they really didn't know me. And that made it difficult. If you do not pay attention to these things, they will come back to bite. That's number 2, yes?
Yes.
So I said that if you must talk, so you have to grant an interview on the fly. This is the rule of thumb. Focus on the value that you've created and not on yourself. Focus on the value that you've created and not on yourself. And if you have a team, acknowledge your team and their contribution in that moment. Now, the next thing in stewarding success is you must remember that tomorrow is not given. So you need to stay humble. We have no idea what will happen tomorrow. So focus on today, now, and the moment. Enjoy it by all means, but don't let it get into your head. Enjoy it. Remember that you can become more. There's always room above you, but tomorrow is not promised. It's not promised. This may be the last thing you ever do. So don't be flippant when you talk to people about it. Be very intentional. Intentionality is a skill that every person who wants to consistently be successful must cultivate.
Yes.
It is a skill. And then number 4 or 5, I don't remember what now, keep aiming for better. What if I'll say that in another way? Stay hungry. Stay hungry. Ask, how can I innovate around and improve what I've done? You see, that's the thing I love about technology.
Yes,
I'm a technology buff. Just my app has been updated many times. Once the hosts, iOS and whatever, are doing an update or an upgrade, they'll send a message. to my developer, and they will say, oh, you need to, this thing in your app now does not now comply with this. So
there's a new version, there's a new something.
Yes, you need to now do this to be able to plug into this. It's the same thing with our journey. Make sure that you know what the next upgrade is. And you can only do that by asking the right questions. Question number 1, ask, what do I not know? You see, success makes us feel invincible.
Yes.
Without meaning to. I promise you.
It gets into our head quickly.
Even for the humblest of us, it makes you feel like I've arrived. Because truly you've done something. You've done something massive. And it doesn't matter whether it is all you did was you raised 3 children. But you raised them well. In the world that we live in today, that's a huge success. Do you understand it? So it can make you begin to, the coach who teaches people how to raise 3 children and raise them well. What you need to remember is that the children had to be towing your line for them to be raised the way they were raised. So all the credit doesn't come to you.
To you alone.
Therefore, you should always ask yourself, what else do I not know?
Yes.
What do I not know? Because it's not even about what do I need to do. You need to know what you don't know before you can do what you need to do. So what do I not know? And then the next logical follow-up question is, who can teach
me this thing? Yes.
Who can teach me? It keeps you hungry. It makes room for growth. And it keeps you on the journey. Because, again, there are too many one-hit wonders out there. And you don't want to add to their number. Because honestly, that's not how God has created us.
Yeah.
So these are some of the ways that I believe that we can steward success. I have maybe three or 4 more, but if you have questions.
Yes, before we took the remainder of the 3, I wanted to ask, this is still this question of humility.
Yes.
How can one really consciously say, I want to stay humble, I want to be humble? Because I've come to find out that most times when you talk to a person and say, oh, you're being proud, they don't even know they're being proud.
Yes.
So it's something that happens, when I say subconsciously now. So how can one say, okay, I want to consciously remain humble?
Okay, so I'm going to keep this question and answer it when we come back.
All right.
It's still the NeverTheLess show. Please don't go away. We'll soon be back for the final session of this episode. God bless you.
In a world filled with many fears and discouragement, life often becomes a burden. For those who know the way, life is just simple. Do not worry, you're not alone on this life's journey, as Bidemi Mark-Mordi shares powerful insights and principles from her everyday work and life experiences in her book, NeverTheLess. NeverTheLess is a book designed to encourage and equip you to face life with courage, hope, and determination. Get a copy of NeverTheLess and other books written by Bidemi Mark-Mordi, like The Wisdom of the Seed, Honor, The Theology of Work, and so much more from a bookstore nearby, or call 080-905-63555, or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com to place your order. I guarantee you will make it. NeverTheLess.
So you're welcome back to this concluding part of the final episode on success. It is the NeverTheLess show, a show for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. So I asked the question before we went on the break, how do you stay humble?
Okay, so I don't know that I have scientific template for it, but I'll tell you something that happened to me. Okay, so when I started ministry, between myself and my husband, I started ministry first.
Okay.
So I started ministry first, and I started to do many things ministry-wise. I was having steady meetings that I was convening by myself. So I was already in the full flow and full swing of ministry when he was now ordained a pastor. So automatically he became my pastor. And I had to sit myself down for a conversation. I had to see, because when I thought about it in that time, the only picture I could see was those women in Corinth who would get up and say, shut up, me too, I can prophesy. And because I've been doing this, like engaged in it longer than he was at the time, I knew that I had to do something extra if I was going to be able to let him lead me in the path because God has called him to. So I did a number of things. One of the things I did, which was for me the most profound, was that we were in a denomination at that time where ministers will have to sit in front, and that includes the pastor and his wife. But I had to make a conscious choice to sit at the last seat at the back. And the reason I did that was by the grace of God, I'm graced in what I do. I know this thing. I can discern. I know the Bible to an extent, not to sound immodest. And I had been doing it more in the eye of the public. So it felt that it meant that I probably had some rank. I could, in my mind, pull some rank on my husband. Yes. Do you get it? And to sit at the back was me saying, I consciously defer to you in this room and in this place. So concerning this ministry, I would only do the things that you ask me to do. I would only contribute in the ways that you ask me to contribute. And if I have something to contribute, I will tell you at home and I will not tell you here. So that gap between where I sat and where he sat was for me what it took, because if I had to, within the service, if I felt something needed to change, I would have to move that distance, and that would be awkward. So that was how I ringed myself. I just created that parameter for myself, and it's worked for us. So over the years, we did that, and for the over 15 or about almost 16 years that we did that work together, I always sat at the back.
Wow.
I always sat at the back. It didn't stop me from doing the things I was called to do. It didn't anything, nothing, but I just stayed where I was because I recognized that the commission under which we were in had recognized him as the point man. It didn't matter that I had been doing stuff before him. So for me to be able to, as human and flesh sometimes, be able to give him that right and defer to him, I had to do that. Can you see it? So intentionality again, to make a decision. So I can't tell you how many times people will say, no, but the pastor's wife, sit in front. I used to always tell them, I know why I sit where I sit.
Which they might not understand.
They didn't need to understand it.
And you didn't need to explain to them.
And I didn't need to explain to them either. We had to craft things. I understood he was the pastor. And so it meant that, he had to be likable all the time. I didn't need to be likable all of the time. So, when discipline was meant to be exerted, I stepped in. I did the things that needed to be done just so that to free him so that he would excel in the things that he needs to be. Wow. So the point I'm making is if you're intentional, you'll find a way to stay humble. Something as simple as not speaking when you feel the urge to speak. All of those things tend to help. In that season, I learned to walk away from arguments with him, especially arguments that had to do with the ministry. No matter what I thought, in the end, I knew the call was his. And whatever his call was, I would need to get behind it. So it takes a bit of practice, but it is possible. Yes.
Thank you very much for that response. Thank you so much.
So our next way to steward success is to be a lifelong learner. To be a lifelong learner. Recognize that there are always new things to learn. There are always new things to learn. There are always, and they don't even have to directly impact on what you do. Learn them anyway if you have the opportunity. What those who are my friends would tell you is that I'm a compendium of all kinds of things. I always know somebody who does what, who knows what. Those are things I may never need. But I find that when people come to me and they have that need, I can always connect them and step away. So that's something. Be a lifelong learner. When you're in a room and something new is being discussed, pay attention. Don't shut down. Another thing you must do is that you need to recognize that success is sometimes a compendium of daily wins. So win over anger. Win over being slothful. Win over, just keep winning.
Private battles.
Private, that thing I told us, private battles, private victories.
Yes.
Win daily. Not only when the lights are on you. Consistently win. And then finally, remember what you did consistently before you blew. Because sometimes, for most of us, people of faith, we prayed a lot. We fasted. We did things. When you get where you're going, do not think that those things did not contribute. And if you want to continue to win, don't discard them. Do the things you did before. At every loop of your success, remember the things you did consistently in the beginning and just replicate them. Because remember when we started, I told you that if you intentionally pay attention to your success track, you can replicate it over and over and over. There you have it. That is how to steward success.
So this has really been amazing. Personally, it's been a journey for me, and I know that I'm more confident about, number one, what God has sent me to do, and how that I don't need anybody to try to be like them. I'm just going to be comfortable in my own skin. And then when I'm eventually succeeding, I know how to manage. You said not manage, steward. I know how to steward that success, knowing that God gave it to me. And these are the things that I must do to ensure that I maintain it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And thank you for being a good spot today. You made the job easy. That's a wrap for us here. We've come to the end of the series, the Nevertheless series on success. If you want to continue to listen over and over, you can find this as a podcast anywhere. And I mean anywhere that podcasts are played, any podcasting platform, from Spotify to Google Podcasts to iTunes, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you go, you will find us there. And then, of course, you'll find the video edition on my YouTube channel, Bidemi Mark-Mordi. Please remember, when you go there to subscribe, leave a comment, give us feedback. Let us know what it is that you have enjoyed in this series. Next month, when we come back, we will bring you another topic. Hopefully, I get to see John, have John with me, or otherwise, another of my colleagues will be here. Thank you so much for keeping the faith with us. John, thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me. I'm very grateful.
You. And thank you to the crew. God bless you. We'll see you next time. Remember, embrace your superpower so that you can live purposeful lives. God bless you.
Thank you for listening to Nevertheless. For more information and resources, call 080-90563-555 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com. Don't forget, discovering your purpose helps you live more powerfully.